Yo! We're the Boros Twins.
This is God's Gift to Wrestling, Michael Richard Blaze.
This is Chelsea Green.
I'm the world's sweetest man, Gentleman Jarvis.
We are Jack Pride.
This is the innovator of violence, the first lady of hardcore, the most violent woman in professional wrestling.
This is Christian Cobain.
This is Casey Two Scoops Spinelli.
Oh, hi, darlings. It's me, your pumpkin. Weirdo hero, Ravenous Randy Myers.
This is Holden Albright.
And we love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And we love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
And I love wrestling.
Oh, we're going to see a Superflex Powerball!
Just coming up to the building, Colton Kelly. Colton, I am sorry to interrupt your cigarette, my friend.
I am so excited to have you here. I know I said that a million times before we got started. This crowd is going bananas!
I'm Spencer Love, and this is Love Wrestling.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the first ever Love Wrestling Sunday brunch. Spencer Love here. We've got a number of the Love Wrestling contributors. For the very first time, we are all here together, at least for the most part. How are you guys doing? It's great to be here. It's the first time we've gotten the opportunity to do this. Obviously, it's only really brunch for Parrish and I, but gentlemen, it's great to see you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's great to see the whole team. Well, like you said, Spencer, the whole more or less the whole team here.
Absolutely. Parrish, yourself, how are things, my friend? Of course, the only guy that really I'd have worked with in an official capacity prior to this. What's new? What's wild? What's exciting, man?
Wow, you make me feel like an experienced one. No, I'm doing very well, thank you. Just enjoying my Sunday, getting ready for football, getting ready for the Love Wrestling conference. So I'm very excited. Everyone,
Absolutely.
Welcome. Spencer, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Joe, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. It's a little bit later where I am. I'm located in Ontario in Canada, by the way, so we're kind of in the mid-afternoon here. But excited to kind of get going. Episode 1 of Turnbuckle Rewind is already in the can, just waiting to come out this coming Thursday. So I'm excited for everybody to listen to that. And we're going to be talking about Hogan versus Andre in that very first episode. So it's we're starting off with the granddaddy of them all.
Absolutely. And of course, last but not least, Mr. J, the host of Poetry of a Promo. How are you doing, friend?
I am contractually obligated to be here, sir. But other than that, fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Well, it's good to see you. It is good to see all of you who have joined us in the chat room. Of course, give us a hello, a wave, a whatever. Give us your questions. That's what we're here for. It's Sunday brunch. It's pretty casual. Of course, we did want to give everybody a bit of a rundown on what you can expect here on Love Wrestling through 2021 and beyond. Of course, we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. We've got lots that we've already released, including a lot of stuff from the contributors you can see here. However, the one that we haven't gotten anything from quite yet, coming up this Thursday for the first time ever on Love Wrestling, as he alluded to earlier, the Turnbuckle Rewind podcast joining us. Joe, just going to give you a bit of a second here, your time to shine, my friend. Give us a little bit on the Turnbuckle Rewind podcast.
Yep, myself and Carl Careful. Of course, you can see in my background, we were also part of the Turnbuckle Talk podcast, which is actually coming up this Monday. We are doing our 200th episode, so looking forward to doing that. But yeah, on this very first episode of Turnbuckle Rewind, we are going to be talking about Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania 3, one of the most iconic matches of all time. Breaking down the build up to the match itself, and the repercussions following the match afterwards. So, one of the most important, one of the biggest matches of all time for our first episode. So, really looking forward to everybody being able to check that out.
What's your first memory with professional wrestling?
For me, my very first exposure to professional wrestling was watching Mr. T and Roddy Piper. And I saw that, and I was immediately hooked at a very young age.
As anybody would be, man. That is, I would like to send a friendly reminder, Saskatchewan's finest, Roddy Piper, of course.
Yeah.
Hogan versus Andre, why'd you make the decision to start there?
Especially for myself, given that I'm a French Canadian, in my family, my great grandfather and some of my other relatives were huge wrestling fans, and Andre was our hero. Like, he was kind of he was almost had like godlike status amongst French people. So, and I mean, still to this day, I mean, we're still talking about Andre now. I mean, one of the really true legends in this business. I mean, not to take anything away from any other. But in any other kind of Hall of Fame or any other legend, but I mean, Andre still is, in my view, still the legend when it comes to professional wrestling. I mean, there's nobody that touches him.
Oh yeah, man, and I think might be just my opinion here, but I think there's so many times that the word legend is just like sort of haphazardly thrown around. You know what I mean? And like you say, Andre is one of those guys that I believe that really, really, really applies to. I quoted a guy once, and he says, who goes to conventions and calls themselves a legend is Virgil. And, I think we've all seen the photos, right? But I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, if I can add one thing, like Andre is a pioneer of what the big man is. I mean, I remember even when I started training and you're seeing big guys just train, everyone's always saying, you got to do what Andre does. It's not like what guys like Yoko, Bam Bam, Taker, Kane. It's always going back to the Andre. And you see Big Show, who is very much an Andre-inspired character. Andre was one of the biggest inspirations to every big man in professional wrestling. And he's a legend, like just a true legend in this business.
The expression I've always used, especially with the bigger guys in wrestling, is less is more. You see now a lot of bigger guys like doing flips and doing stuff to the outside and whatnot. To me, that's not big man wrestling. I mean, the big guy is just the guy that just in there, he does relatively little, but still annihilates his opponent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Got to give a couple quick shout outs real quick to a couple people in the comment section. Eric Graves, Omen fan. He is a huge professional wrestling fan out here in Alberta. And a guy that I always like to say hi to at shows. Parrish, I know you can probably speak from experience too. Cause man, anytime there is something to talk about in professional wrestling, he's reaching out to me. I love shooting the shit with him. Tom Hughes, another great Edmonton professional wrestling fan, a gentleman and a scholar. I don't really have much else to say. It's like, my favorite way to describe some of my favorite wrestling matches is just, go and watch this match. It's not necessarily, taking a huge in-depth dive. It's the same way I feel about Tom. Tom's one of my favorite people. He's just a gentleman and a scholar. Jupiter Vision, another person that you guys should be checking out if you guys are into the Twitch side of things. He is doing some great work out here as far as the Western Canadian professional wrestling scene goes as well. Send him a like, a share, a follow, a retweet, a Yelp review, a 5-star review, any of those other things that you can do out there on the medias. There's too many of them out there, man. But somebody who does a great job of all of them, Zach, who is hanging out in what represents my bottom left corner. So even my dog was excited to hear me bring up your name. How are you doing, man? We've talked about this forever. You've been an integral part of getting this whole thing sort of organized, as everybody has been. But if anybody saw the beautiful graphics we're sending out at launch and all of that sort of stuff to announce these fine individuals joining the site, that was all Zachary's work. Zach, I've sang your praises. I'm going to let you sing your own here for a couple of seconds and give a little bit of insight into what you and I and Mr. J and a couple of the other contributors are going to be getting into, because I know there's a couple people here who have even reached out to me personally on what is Thursday Night Quizplex.
Yeah, Thursday Night Quizplex is just going to be a trivia show for the wrestling fans. we're still kind of playing with the format, but it's going to be, we're going to have at least 3 people coming on to have a showdown of who has the superior wrestling trivia knowledge and have fun with that. I'm going to be part of a revolving door of hosts along with Spencer, along with Mr. J, and whoever else on the Love Wrestling team wants to be a part of that.
If it involves winning it, I'll also be a part of it.
Oh, trash talk begins before we even had episode 1. I like it.
Well, of course it has to. Somebody has to.
I know his history and predictions. Trust me, you want me.
Actually, I have to throw a question out here. This is actually for another guy in the comment section. I bring up Eric and Anthony earlier. Anthony had a streamathon the other day in which he was required to drink, and I'll let him in the comment section bring up what the exact details of that were, because I don't do it justice explaining how much this gentleman had to go through. But c'est la vie. As mentioned, it's Sunday brunch. Some are coming hungover. Some are here to start the party, but we are here to talk professional wrestling. We are here to talk about the launch of Love Wrestling. You guys can see all of the social media along the bottom. If you guys want to go and give us a like, a share, a follow, a review, a retweet, whatever it may be, however you choose to support, it always does mean the world. I know I speak for everybody here on the call, everybody not in the call right now as well, including our favorite Australian. Well, I say that with an asterisk just because if there's anybody in the comment section that's an Australian, I don't want them to get mad at me. But our favorite Australian contributor, Josh Robinson, who is also going to be joining us, taking care of the Network and Chill podcast. Great branding. I just have to throw that one out there. Of anybody who's got a great name on this site, I would put him near the top of it, to be quite honest with you guys. But he had some words. He can't be here because I think it's 4 a.m. over in Australia. So he sent a quick video out on Twitter yesterday. I'm going to share that with you guys right now if you want to get a quick little update on Network and Chill.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about my voice. It's a little shot since New Year's. Let's not get into it. I just wanted to quickly get on here and say that instead of just typing out a tweet or putting out some kind of thing, I am so excited to finally be able to talk about the fact that I'm a part of Love Wrestling. It's Spencer's just child. It's Spencer's baby that's going to just do some really cool things. I'm a small part of this. I'm happy to be contributing in the way that I am with a show called Network and Chill, which, as everybody knows, is what I love about professional wrestling is women over the years have just shown time and time again that they can be what they're at in a mainstream capacity now. So for my show, all you're going to need is a WWE Network subscription. A lot of this is on the free version of the WWE Network, so you don't need a subscription. But we're going to go back and watch some hidden gems and some classics. Don't worry, I'm going to watch some slappers as well that everybody loves, but some hidden gems of all throughout the years of WWE. If it's on the network, it's available to be on this show. We're going to watch along together. It's just going to be the ultimate chill out podcast. I'm not asking anything for you than to just switch it on, switch on the WWE Network, click the link, go to the timestamp, grab a snack, and just watch wrestling with me. I'm so excited. From the bottom of my heart, I want Spencer to know this directly. He will watch this. Thank you for not only considering me, but then inviting me to be a part of this, because I've been doing this for a hot minute, just like all of us. I'm no different. I'm no better than anyone else. But it finally feels like I'm getting some kind of recognition for the hard work I put in for the last nearly 3 years to kind of get to somewhere and be like, hey, that person noticed that I'm doing something and I'm trying to spread some love and trying to just do what I can to be different and be my own self. But Network and Chill, if you go to lovewrestling.ca, you'll see I'll tag them in this. Just go to their Twitter at lovewrestlingca and you will find all about all the stuff on Love Wrestling, not just my stuff, everyone's. I'm a small part of this, and I'm so excited. I'm just so grateful and humbled that I was selected, and I'm just going to show you why I love wrestling. Really. Okay. Goodbye.
That was Big Stud Josh. If you guys are watching,
how do you not love that guy?
I think even the Australians will say that he is their favorite Australian.
He is cuter than a puppy and a kitten trying to crawl into the same slipper, is the way that I would put it. In honor of Josh, who again could not be here, but I know we'll be watching this. We'll be sharing it out everywhere. Zach, let's start with you because, let's show some love to Giddy too. We'll bring your kitten into it. What is
Entire
your
show here.
match, whether on the WWE network or not, or even if you've got to give a couple, we'll limit you to 3.
Okay. My favorite match, I think everyone's answer will change daily. I'm sorry for the appearance of my cat Ticket there.
Don't ever apologize.
Okay, now he's knocking shit off my desk. Sorry. This is going great. My favorite match, top of my head, I'm going to say Sami Zayn versus Adrian Neville from NXT Our Evolution, in which Sami Zayn's career was on the line and the championship as well. Okay, he's gone now. That probably makes me sound a lot younger than I actually am. I have been watching wrestling all my life. I don't have memories without wrestling in my life. But that was like the match that kind of like brought me back in after like a lapsed fandom. I hadn't been watching through like college and whatnot. And when I came, and that match kind of just like really rekindled my fandom. There's that one. I'm also a sucker for like a great tag team match. Heart Foundation, Demolition, stuff like that. I think I'd say it was probably even tag team wrestling that kind of like got me into wrestling in the first place. I can't find one concrete moment. It's more of like an abstract. Come up with a third one later. On the spot right now.
Well, sounds good. I'll buy you some time for a second. A good friend of ours as well. I know Parrish, a good friend of yours, and someone I know that is a huge asset to the entire independent professional wrestling scene here in Alberta. Kyle Shaw, the Canadian Goose. Honk, honk, honk. Hopping into the chat. Hey guys, congratulations on the launch of the new platform. Hope 2021 goes much better than 2020. All my respect to Canadian Goose. Buy my t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Teens, because like any great professional wrestler, any great professional
gotta
wrestling
put yourself over, huh?
Close it out with a good plug. He is someone that not only do I always love chatting professional wrestling with, but I just think is one of the best dudes you guys will get the opportunity to chat with any genre of anything out there. I have no better way to put it. I know that was a very uneloquent way of putting it, but Shaw's a good dude. The Canadian Goose, sorry, JP's running at the window, is definitely a professional wrestler you want to watch.
I thought my bet was just
for a second.
By the way, I love that Shaw is War logo. I loved that old Raw is War logo. Still, if I used to have that shirt, but then lost it, from moving or whatnot. But I love that old Raw is War logo. By the way, too, like if I didn't get to mention it, I have some current day for my favorite match. There's Hogan versus Andre, those old school matches. A lot of those are still my favorite. But currently, my favorite match of all time, in case I didn't get to mention it, is actually from New Japan from recently, and it was the finals for the Best of Super Juniors, Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. If you haven't had a chance to check out that match, find a way to go and check it out and do yourself a favor. Absolutely fantastic stuff. El Desperado actually unmasking himself near the end, and then just a stare down where it's just like, okay, it's on now. They basically throwing everything at each other at that point. It's like, okay, now it's time to end this, right? So just absolutely fantastic. Go and check it out if you haven't. Just want to get that out there.
Sure.
I'm a little weird because like the match that I connected to the most is having an older brother. It was Bret Hart and Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10, which I thought was just a classic. And I'm like, how do you get any better? And then 2 years later, one of my favorite matches as a Shawn Michaels guy growing up was the Iron Man match between Bret and himself, which I thought was an absolute classic. And I don't even want to get into how I view Shawn Michaels as a performer, because I think we can all talk about that. But another match that I absolutely love is simply just Chris Jericho against Shawn Michaels. And it's simply because when Shawn Michaels broke his back, I didn't even have the internet then, so I didn't know why he left.
Right.
So Chris Jericho was kind of my guy. And this is back when he started in WCW. I just got WCW on TV, so I followed him. I got to see his debut, which is I still think maybe other than Kane, 2 best debuts ever. But that match was just amazing because it was pitting my one favorite against the other, and I'm like, who do I go for? And that really said I'm a Jericho guy because I transitioned. at that point to becoming Jericho. Hence, my name Chris Parrish because it came from Chris Jericho. So.
Well, you and my co-host would get along really well then, Paris, because Carl Carafel is probably one of the biggest Shawn Michaels fans out there. And then one of his favorite matches, of course, is Ric Flair's retirement match. And the end of that match, I mean, you can't get much more emotional than the ending of that match, right? So, being across the ring and telling him I love you, and then kick him in the face and then beating him, right? So that one still stands out as a memory for me. So
I'll almost guarantee you, my wife wants to do that to me every night. Just say I love you and then kick. But I was actually for Halloween when I was 12. I was Shawn Michaels. When I was 15, I was Chris Jericho. So like, I just shows. I think those are my two guys like growing up. Plus Macho Man, amazing. Owen, amazing.
I would like to have been Shawn Michaels for Halloween and just like super kick people at their house for candy, right? So
my mom made the best gear. It was a black and white just ordeal. It was awesome. Best friend called me names. I went home crying. It's still the best day ever.
Could you say you were a heartbroken kid?
Oh, nice.
Oh,
good.
And that is why I'm here.
I'm glad we got you contractually obliged to being here. I apologize.
I got glasses like you too, man.
I'm nearly certain that will happen again. But really, this podcast is going to the dogs. The site isn't, which is great. If you guys have your favorite matches, if you guys want to hop in there with any questions, comments, concerns, anything along those lines, let us know in the comment sections. That's what we're here to do over this Sunday brunch. We are here to talk about professional wrestling. We're also here to let you know what we've got going on Love Wrestling. In the next couple of days, as you guys have seen, if you've paid attention to my social media, the Love Wrestling social media at all, or any of these fine gentlemen who have so lovingly shared my content, I've got an interview coming out tomorrow with the current Impact Knockouts champion, Deonna Purrazzo. Her and I got to shoot the shit. It was an absolute blast a couple of months ago before this was even announced. So it's very, very cool to get this clip in sort of retrospect / get to see it in the future, given everything that's happened. When we chatted, it was the start of October. Her and Kimberly were just starting to get organized as far as teaming together goes. So I talked to her a little bit about working with her, and then we chatted a little bit about a potential matchup with her next opponent at January 16th's Hard to Kill pay-per-view. You guys will only find it here until I release it on the day of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, but Deonna Purrazzo gives her thoughts on working with Kimberly and a potential match with Taya Valkyrie. How have you enjoyed working with Kimberly?
Yeah, it's Impact, the women's division is so great because it's all a ton of girls that kind of like were right before me, but I kind of came up with, and they were like the leaders of my generation, so to speak. So like Kim was one of those girls I had only wrestled once on the indies, and it was like one of my favorite matches ever, but we only ever got to do it once. So to kind of be in a place now that she's kind of like, we call her my curator. Every virtuoso needs a curator, and to be in a tag team with her and to kind of be like feeling out this process with people who are familiar feels incredible.
Now, the one other person that I specifically had to ask you about, I was lucky enough to interview Taya Valkyrie a couple of months ago before you'd officially made your in-ring debut. And the gist of what she said, I'll let other people check it out, was basically, Deonna, look out. Now, I'll give you the opportunity now. Do you have any words for Taya Valkyrie?
Well, I've been looking out, and Taya has not come after me yet.
Very fair point.
Taya is someone who I have never gotten a chance to be in the ring with. So whenever she's vying for a Knockouts championship opportunity, like, I'm ready, because I've said on numerous other interviews that that's a dream match for me. So I'm excited for that and the possibility of that.
You heard it here first. She's excited to wrestle Taya Valkyrie, as I'm sure many professional wrestling fans are, myself included. She talks about it being a dream match for her. I think a lot of people, quite honestly, had this lined up as not just a dream match, but the dream match for Deonna Purrazzo and Impact. And to be quite honest with you guys, like, I think there's a lot of debate right now, and rightfully so, over who's got the best women's division. When you look at Impact, like, at the very least, I think you consider them a 1A to maybe NXT and the WWE as a whole, and that's at worst, right? Like, when you look at the matches she could have and has had already, right? But with Jordan Grace and with Sue Young and with Susie and with all of those sorts of names, and now finally to build up to Taya Valkyrie at Hard to Kill, man, I'm psyched. And to be quite honest with you, Not that you ever hope for like a schmoz finish or anything like that, but however you can get this feud to extend, man, I'm here for it. I want to see weapons involved. I want to see this go like 110%. So, as I mentioned, you guys get to see that here right now. That won't be out on our social media until the day of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Of course, if you guys want to check out the full interview, that'll be live tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on this YouTube channel right here. Of course, anywhere that you want to check it out, though, whether it's here, whether it's the audio version on Podbean, lovewrestling.ca, any of your favorite podcatchers. I guarantee you guys can do it outside of the few loose ends that I have yet to clear up, not being as technologically inclined as maybe somebody running a website should be, but that's for someone else to debate. I was going to ask a question. Zach, I'll move on to you because you're the easy target. You're right underneath me here. Favorite women's match, now that we're talking about Deanna and Valkyrie.
Oh, man. Like back in the day, like when Lita and Trish Stratus finally got a chance to main event Monday Night Raw, like I was just thrilled and just like I was at the edge of my seat that whole match. Another top one for me, I gotta say Bayley versus Sasha Banks from Brooklyn. But also like one that's kind of like under the radar from NXT because like they've had so many amazing women's matches is Bayley versus Asuka. Because like it's not like the best of either of their runs because they both had like tremendous runs. But that match does not get spoken well enough about often enough. I'm sure that sentence made sense. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I was going to go in a similar vein, and I'm certain I'm forgetting some. Don't get me wrong here, but the one match that always comes to mind every time this question is asked of me is Asuka versus Nikki Cross. On like quite literally just one random episode of NXT, and there was like the proper build and all of that to it. Don't get me wrong, but
they had a good feud.
Oh man, they had a great feud, and culminating with that, I believe it was a ladder match, the TLC match, I believe. Excuse me.
I think it was just like last woman standing. They worked a ladder in. I remember there was.
I was going to say that was part of the finish was the ladder. What an incredible match, man. And I think that I really love what Nikki Cross has done on the main roster. But if you were to give me what would you prefer, Spencer? Like, man, that was just a barn burner. And watching Nikki Cross, it's such a cliche sentence, but like quite literally put her entire body on the line was nuts. Because I think at that point, everybody knew when she came in, but everybody knew what Asuka could do, and she could like hit hard and be that badass bitch. Nikki Cross like came to play, man. So to be quite honest with you, I may finish this up and head back to the WWE network.
So I just like to type in. So like it's funny we talk about Sasha and Bayley. That was actually the same day as my wedding. So I remember getting back to the hotel room and my wife was super passed out because she drank everything. I'm putting on the network, so I want to watch NXT. And she looks at me, she's like, "You're watching wrestling?" And I'm like, "Is there anything else we can do?" And she's like, "Enjoy the show." But I was also in the crowd at WrestleMania 22 when Trish and Mickie James had their match. And I can tell you just from being in that crowd, there's only two matches that got that reaction. And that was Trish and Mickie, and then Cena and Triple H. But easily, to me, that was the first time I saw the women steal the show was WrestleMania 22 because that match was absolutely amazing. And I do not get to this day how Mickie James is not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Man, I completely agree. Again, to go back to the Asuka match, which like it's another debate altogether, but Asuka, like, she should be in the conversation more for like greatest women's performer of this generation. Because again, I think people know how good she is, but whenever people talk about the greatest, and rightfully so here, don't get me wrong, but like, of course, the four horsewomen are brought up. You hear, Io Shirai brought up more and more consistently. Again, rightfully so. I don't think Asuka is like the first person that comes to mind often enough, and that at least needs to be in the conversation more.
Why didn't we ever get Ronda Rousey against Asuka? Because that, to me, is a WrestleMania main event match.
Bang on, man. I'd watch that all day, every day.
That is the match that I think tops any other female match in WWE right now with Ronda Rousey involved.
Yep.
Absolutely. Joe, I'm going to ask you in a couple of seconds here. I'm going to do some good housekeeping here, though, real quick, because Kyle Shaw hopping in the comments again. Parrish, back to your point. Shaw tops you Kane, Mankind, and John Cena for various Halloween. Shaw, if you've got a photo of that Mankind costume, because I've seen people do Kane before. I've seen people do John Cena. I not once have seen a Mankind costume.
I actually did a Mankind costume as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, don't have a picture.
Okay,
The only issue with the Cena costume is nobody can see you.
It's true. It's the Invisible Man.
I'm gonna point out that I know Kyle Shaw. So if he was Mankind with Mr. Sacco, I definitely don't want to take that ever.
I'm sure Shaw's mask was better than mine.
No way.
I'm sure Shaw's mask was better than mine. I actually made it out of an old snowshoe.
Okay, we need some photo evidence of that one.
That'd be fantastic.
Well,
do we remember the Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups, like the tray where you got the rip away sides?
No.
So they're in a tray and you can rip off
Where
the
are we
sides.
going with this?
Because I used to take those and make wrestling titles for my action figures as kids because I couldn't find the titles or they didn't have them then. But I used to draw championship titles using those, and they were the greatest things ever.
I'm very happy this turned into like a DIY podcast. This is going to be the advertising clip right here.
The ingenuity.
Learn how to make your own wrestling gear. Parrish, to your point as well, Edge vs. Foley was also killer at 22. You were there. What was like the general reaction in the crowd? Because again, network doesn't always translate sometimes.
Oh, man, okay. So for me personally, like I went to a bunch of wrestling shows. So I saw Homicide and Cole Cabana at Ring of Honor the day earlier, and they pretty much did everything. I think Cole Cabana made Homicide drink Drano, and it was just fantastic. And like to me, I actually liked that match better. But with it being in Chicago and that crowd, just I think other than Philadelphia, it might be one of the best crowds I've ever seen in my life and just been involved in. But that spot of the spear through the ropes, through the flaming table, I can't even put into words how amazing and iconic. Like that image does not leave my head ever.
No.
And I sat as far away by the entrance where you could feel the pyros back then.
Oh.
Like it was awful because it was like super hot when Kane came out, but it was just absolutely amazing. And just like, do you guys remember that Money in the Bank where Punk beats Cena and they start with a visual of like the fans in the nosebleeds? That's exactly the view I had at this WrestleMania. But still, like, I feel like I was right there. There's only 2 moments I've ever felt live where I'm like, I'll never forget that. And that is that moment. And that's also the fan pushing the ladder in front of Eddie and RVD. And that is still Austin and it's still Austin getting German 10 times at SmackDown, because those were absolutely amazing moments that I'll never forget just from a wrestling being there live, which I think is still
that's a conversation I want to go. That's a conversation I want to go back to here in a second. But Joe, you've got your picks left, and I believe Mr. J, if you know your contractual obligations call for it. Joe, your picks for favorite women's match or matches within.
If I may interrupt, they do.
So for myself, I have 2 picks. Well, the second one is actually a bit of a combination pick, but I'll get to the first one. Going back to. I actually have the date. I actually did the research while we were waiting here. On December 6th of 2004, they main evented Raw for the Women's Championship, Trish and Lita. That was absolutely a fantastic match, kind of going back. And this was right around the time we were doing a lot of the pillow fights and chocolate cake matches and a lot of the stuff that didn't do women's wrestling justice. This did, and it was really cool to see. And recently, of course, there are the series of matches with Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's Championship. I mean, absolutely freaking amazing. The only thing is I wish that there were fans in attendance for these matches, because it would have kind of upped the atmosphere a little bit. But I mean, these girls are doing fantastic, given that there's virtually nobody in attendance for them.
Yeah.
They're able to pull off those empty arena shows pretty well, which is extremely tough. But yeah, I mean, Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, I mean, just go and watch it.
Right. They're absolutely nuts. I think you're bang on there too, man. And that, like, Yeah, I think every promotion realistically has done a pretty good job given the hands that they've been dealt, you know, like whether they took time off or not. Like you watch what MLW is doing right now, you see what Ring of Honor is doing right now after taking a couple of months off, and like everybody, by my money, is putting on at the very least a solid to great wrestling program on whatever their timeline may be, weekly, every couple days, whatever, right? Like I think that every program has its weak spots, as every show is prone to having naturally, but there's not much wrestling right now I don't enjoy watching.
Yep. Another brief mention too before Mr. J gets to go here is especially for women's wrestling. You know, we had mentioned Asuka and Io Shirai. If you are a fan of that, go and check out Stardom. That's women's wrestling. You know, they're affiliated with New Japan. Actually, at Wrestle Kingdom coming up, actually tomorrow, they're going to have a match at Wrestle Kingdom, and go and check them out too. That their subscription is very, very affordable, and they're doing absolutely amazing stuff over there right now too. So I just wanted to make mention of Stardom. If you haven't heard of them, go check it out. It's not necessarily for everybody, but they do some really good stuff over there.
Absolutely, well worth your time, man. I couldn't agree more with you there, Mr. J. It is up to you.
Oh, well, if I may concur with every other person on this panel, Trish versus Lita stands out in my mind, but one name that comes up, and I don't think she gets enough credit. I do not think she gets enough credit. Gail Kim.
Bingo, bango, man.
In TNA
Canadian.
Impact, whatever you want, exactly, Canadian content, have to get that in there.
Yep.
But the last knockout standing match, I cannot remember for the life of me who it was with. I believe it was maybe Taryn Terrell, but I have gone back and watched that match over the years. Pardon me?
He's a Saints fan. Gotta love Taryn Terrell. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Exactly.
I'll show.
But no, it's fine. You may continue. But at that point, I do believe that Gail Kim, Taryn Terrell, that last knockout standing match was just phenomenal. And I can watch it anytime and be like, no, that is legitimately two women doing an amazing job and actually outperforming most matches on the card, because that's just facts.
Yeah, I mean, like before NXT got kind of known as like the show for women's wrestling. I mean, TNA Impact Wrestling has been just like knocking out of the park for years with their women's division. They really have.
No pun intended with the knocking out, hey?
Thank you, Spencer. I didn't want to interrupt.
I'm glad. I got a mug for Christmas that says King of Dad Jokes, so I feel like I've got to live up to that or get merchandise made.
That's why you and I, Spencer, we get along. Dad jokes and beer. That's our relationship.
That's exactly it. But before we get to yourself, I think that people at the very least, if they're familiar with what you and I have done in the past, Parrish, they'll get a good idea here in a couple of seconds. So before we turn it over here to Mr. J, he has a brief message that he wanted us to play regarding his contractual obligations. So stay tuned. And then, Mr. J, I'd like to get your poetry on what we can expect from Mr. J in the near future.
Greetings, one and all. I am Mr. J from Poetry of a Promo, here to do a entirely contractually obligated promotional video for the Poetry of a Promo on lovewrestling.ca. I hope I got that right, because I'm not doing it again. You can't make me. You can find our content on YouTube at Love Wrestling CA and lovewrestling.ca. Ta-ta.
Just the most magnificent thing you've ever seen. I know it's almost cringeworthy, I suppose. But if I may recover from that, Poetry of a Promo. We examine the finer things in wrestling, not because it's not just about athleticism. It's about the words of the promos. Some of them are great, some of them are terrible. Follow us. We'll lead you in the right direction. First episode was Macho Man Randy Savage do not worry, there will be more of him. But as an example, check out the first episode, and you won't be disappointed.
I'm assuming, Mr. J, that sorry, Spencer. I'm assuming, Mr. J, that you're not going to probably not have Mr. Scott Steiner featured on your episode too often, right?
There is an episode. There has been an episode because, as we all know, Mr. Steiner is a world-renowned mathematician, and if we did not cover this, if we did not cover it, it would be a disservice to the wrestling industry as a whole. And it had to be done.
We love
and that episode is on its way. So hope you enjoy it. It's called. I believe we discussed the title in the last few days of Poetry of a Promo is Your Hookup. So look out for that one, folks.
Now, I think that our good friend Joel Pearl, who has actually done some great work on both the Tim and Joel pod and some great work on the Fightful Twitch channel, the Fightful Gaming channel that I suggest you guys all go and check out. I think he sums up all of our thoughts here pretty succinctly. What did I just watch?
The greatest thing you've ever seen. You're just not intellectually superior enough to understand what the greatness is.
Enlighten us.
Just like it's 80 with content.
It is content.
Ouch.
You love
Joel,
content.
Joel, I think you'll have an appreciation for this on a level that I do, which I think speaks pretty well to the level of appreciation that I have for the Poetry of a Promo podcast. I'm going to go through a couple of comments here as we answer these questions, so excuse me when I do interrupt, but it's applicable right now because coming out tomorrow is a special edition of the Poetry of a Promo. We have the Motorhead special coming. I already listened to it, guys, and it's an absolute blast of a listen. So this is a two-part question. Let's give it some quicker answers than we normally maybe would. But who is your favorite promo of all time, and what is your favorite theme music of all time?
Oh, I already know.
Mr. J, let's start with you.
Favorite theme music has to be either The Game or Line in the Sand, because at heart, I am a diehard Motorhead fan. And favorite promo of all time, I can go back either anything by Randy Savage or the legendary Steiner Math promo.
That's easily like my favorite. Yeah. Parrish, I'll move to you next.
I think one of my greatest promos, and I'm going to give a shout out to probably the biggest unknown, because it caught me off surprise the most, was Mark Henry's retirement speech. That, to me, that caught me emotional. But I'm also going to throw out one of my favorite promos was Owen Hart after he beat Bret at WrestleMania, because I cannot connect more with the guy finally doing something that bettered his older brother and deserving a spot in the spotlight just within his own family. That, to me, got me very high. So Owen Hart for the win on there. My favorite wrestling theme to this day, I think, is probably the most iconic. But if you don't agree with me, I got two words for you. Suck it. It's Degeneration X. How do you not love that?
I am deeply offended.
Zachariah.
Like a good hockey team, I'm very offensive.
Zachariah, favorite promo and favorite theme song after I give a quick shout out to our friends over at the Wrestling Rodeo. Man, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but they do some great work as far as the wrestling scene goes out here in Alberta. They, along with the Wrestle Out podcast, as I wait for my dog to settle down, JP, they do some great work out here in Alberta. If you guys have the opportunity, head over to their YouTube channel after this broadcast ends and check out the replays of both the Northern Alberta and the Southern Alberta Invitational tournaments. They're fantastic. They really showcase the best of the best of Albertan professional wrestling. And, you know, in all my bias, if you're going to check out anything in this crowdless time after a Sunday brunch, why not professional wrestling, right? Shaw is War to back up that statement as well. He's got a comment on the women's wrestling scene here in Alberta. There have been some fantastic local women's matches this year too, like Zoe Sager versus Taryn from Accounting, who by my money has like the best name in professional wrestling for the Northern Alberta, and Taryn from Accounting versus Samantha Slides for RCW and Radway in the main event. Yeah, like them among others. I would highly suggest you guys take the opportunity and go and check out Backbreaker Media, Monster Pro Wrestling, Pure Power Wrestling, all of the promotions we've got here in Alberta for their women's content. We've got a great scene here. We really, really do. It's a bit unfortunate that between 5 promotions that don't allow each other to work together for the most part, that we don't get a lot of women's matches of a lot of variety. But that's a complaint for a different day. Jupiter Vision, our friend Anthony sticking around to say, always need more great women's wrestling. I couldn't agree more with you. The Omen fan sticking around saying hello. Excuse me. Lots of comments coming in.
Ooh.
Omen fan saying, well, I heard there might be a women's tournament. Another great reason to stick
Hello,
around.
Wrestling Rodeo.
Rodeos, our chat. Hello all from our friend Chris Koning. Hello all to them from Jupiter Vision and Wrestling Rodeo as well. Now, sorry, Zach, after a lot of that, but back to you for your favorite promo and, of course, your favorite wrestling theme music.
Yeah, if the comments keep coming, I can wait all day. This is wonderful. But as for my own favorite promo, I loved when The Rock turned heel in Montreal and just spent 17 minutes the next night on Raw just ripping Toronto a new one. Just like entertaining top to bottom, unbelievable for like, you know, it's a paint by numbers heel promo, but because it's The Rock, it's like exceptional. It's up to that next level. As for theme song, I know Edge's theme song by Alter Bridge is like a huge fan favorite, but I loved that brief time when he had Rob Zombie Never Gonna Stop Me as his theme. That kicked ass.
Yep, you're bang on there. Mighty Joe, it's up to you.
So for me, for favorite promo of all time, I'll get my favorite and then an honorable mention. For me, favorite promo of all time. For me, this one's a no-brainer here on this one. I'm going to WrestleMania 6, and of course, this is Jake Roberts' promo on Ted DiBiase going into that match. So that's absolutely fantastic, as a lot of Jake's promos are. Just go back and watch it. You can find it on YouTube and just listen to Jake talking to the camera. I mean, he could grip you with just his words. Absolutely fantastic. And an honorable mention.
Joe, I got to hop in here and play off of Zach's comment here for a second. Our good buddies at Backbreaker Media. Anyone ripping Toronto can't be a heel.
Right.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Well said. Well said, Backbreaker.
Yes, they can.
Sorry, Joe. I had to get that one in there, man. Hop back on.
No worries. But yeah, go and check that out. If you haven't, for some reason, seen that, then go and watch it. Honorable mention to, I believe it would have been on Nitro, Jericho listing out all the holds and then saying them off and then them going to commercial and then them coming back and then he's still reading through the list. That's pretty fantastic.
If I may, that might be an upcoming episode.
It might be.
And it's already being recorded.
Nice.
It's a doozy. But it's
well,
amazing.
if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest from the poetry of a promo, you can see all the social media listed on the bottom of the screen there. Feel free to give us a like, a share, a follow, a review, whatever it may take. The support, however you choose to show it, is always, always appreciated. Before we hop into your question here from Wrestling Rodeo in the comments section, my favorite theme music of all time, I'm a bit torn because like my heart is saying that my favorite theme music of all time from CM Punk is This Fire Burns, because you alluded to it earlier, Parrish, the match between Punk and Cena in Chicago at Money in the Bank. That and Samoa Joe versus Kobashi in 05. Those are my two favorite matches of all time. And the biggest reason that the Punk match is my favorite is because of the crowd reaction and watching how they react to the guitar slide of This Fire Burns, right? But like, truthfully, just personally, Cult of Personality is a better song. I like it more, but I don't know if that makes it my favorite theme music. You know what I mean? Because like, I really like Going to California by Led Zeppelin, but it'd be terrible theme music.
Yeah, not to like put a too fine a point on it, but like there's a lot of songs that I don't like, but they work really well as a theme song. Like, and I think it's because the wrestler themselves identifies with that song. Like, Seth Rollins' theme song, not the Messiah one, but the one before. That's not my kind of music, but like it's Seth Rollins. That's Seth Rollins' music. That makes sense and is good.
Absolutely.
For myself, favorite entrance theme, The Brood. And not only that, favorite, I think favorite actual entrance. I mean, literally when they're coming up with flames around them, and then Gangrel with the blood. I mean, that entrance, that music was absolutely fantastic.
Gangrel has been on my list of dream interviews for years. That guy, because he is
Still going.
like,
I can help
well,
you.
I
with
was
that.
going to say,
I can help you.
please do, because in 2019, it was May, right around May. We were lucky enough in Alberta on RCW. Real Canadian Wrestling brought in both Gangrel and Matt Taven while he was carrying the ROH World Title for their anniversary show here, man. And like,
Great guy, by the way. Great guy.
there have been few, if any, really better indie wrestling shows I've been to in a long, long time than that. And you talk about Gangrel, he worked a guy out here named Big Jess Youngblood, who, again, if you haven't had the opportunity to watch him, a hugely, hugely underrated talent from out here. I'd recommend anything he does. They put on a banger. They were the main event, and I will go back and watch that again and again and again whenever I get the opportunity. To play off of the question that we had, Wrestling Rodeo says, great all-time picks, but what have been your favorite promos from 2020? I'm going to finish mine because I didn't give an answer, to be quite honest with you. My favorite promo of all time is Daniel Bryan's return promo. That SmackDown happened to be on my birthday, that March 20th, which, again, just ties a little bit extra to it. But, man, just... the best promos come from the heart. I think for me, it's the worst way to put it because it's returning from something incredibly personally meaningful. But the promos like that come from the heart when he's talking about fight for your dreams and your dreams will fight for you. Man, if you're a wrestling fan, you're not a wrestling fan, you hate the art of professional wrestling. If you don't take inspiration from that in some way, shape, or form, you've got like a cold, dead heart. I really don't have another way to put it. Like, that was so heartwarming. And then, to show a little bit of bias, Sami Zayn and KO coming out after and laying the beat down. And what was personally my favorite feud heading into WrestleMania, absolutely unbelievable. My favorite promo of 2020, I'll kick that one off unless anybody's got one that immediately comes to mind, because I gotta be honest, I would be vamping for a bit.
But before we go to 2020, I just also want to say my honorable mention for best promo of all time might actually be the most iconic promo of all time, and that is the Austin 316 one that we didn't talk about. But Steve Austin to me is probably the biggest personality out of pro wrestling, and that promo started it all. So,
well, that set the whole tone for the Stone Cold character going forward. Up until then, he was really still kind of the ringmaster. After that, he was Stone Cold.
Right.
And I was watching,
incredible.
Yeah,
I was watching some old Rumbles last night. Nobody got a better crowd pop right away than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Huge.
That arena, amazing. And as soon as you hear everyone loses everything. Poo's going all around. They're losing more than just their SHIT. They're losing everything. And it was absolutely amazing. If you've ever been in a crowd where that's happened, it was absolutely amazing. The best thing ever.
If I may add to that, I was actually there the night that he came back to, I guess it was a match, just beat the living crap out of Eric Bischoff in Montreal. Phenomenal pop. I was just that's insane.
We're going to get back to Wrestling Rodeo's question here, excuse me, in a second. Just want to give a couple of quick shout-outs here in the comments section. Shaw is Ward. Taker's music completely sets the stage and gives you a clear idea of what is coming before Homeboy even steps out from the curtain. Yeah, and you know what? He did that with every theme. Even the Boneyard match using Now That We're Dead, you knew what was coming. You heard that hit before you even heard the motorcycle. And I watched this a couple of days ago, so I'm right, damn it. You heard that hit and you just knew. It's man, the badass is back, right? And whether it was that, whether it was fucking rolling, whether it's his original theme in any iteration it was done, Taker's music may be, you talk about Steve Austin Parrish, it's up there as far as the gold standard of what wrestling themes should be in theory. Whether or not you like it as a song, like you talk about Zach or whatever, your sort of actual standard may be. That's the best way I can put it, is it gives the best idea of what a theme should be in theory.
If you can create an out of body experience as soon as that first 2 seconds of your theme song hits, you have an iconic theme song, whether it's Steve Austin's, whether it's that gong. Because every time I heard bells, I thought of Hell's Bells or For Whom the Bell Tolls. And now It's Taker right there.
Carol
By the way,
Bell.
for whom the
Favorite
bell
Christmas
tolls,
song.
last theme song Taker actually used, also my theme song. Just saying.
Gonna clear out the comment section here real quick before we get back to Wrestling Rodeo. Shaw also says Hard Times is his personal favorite promo.
It's on its way, sir. It's on its way.
Ben,
Struggle, Ben.
only bigger pops would be for Tag Struggle Parish. I disagree.
Hey, man. And we ripped that off of Beer Money. It was Tag Struggle. Same thing as Beer Money. We ripped everyone off. It was the greatest time of my life. I loved it. Maniac, I love you. I miss you.
The Irishman hops in. He says, Gangrel is a good man. Worked him a couple of times. The Irishman, you are a good man. I will go to bat for that 110% of the time. We've got about 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here left on Sunday Brunch. So I do want to make sure, and I keep bringing it back because I don't want to forget it. Wrestling Rodeo mentions great all-time picks, but what have been your favorite promos from 2020? I didn't forget, damn it. My personal pick would have to go to Bayley right after she turned on Sasha Banks. I just thought it was fantastic. And I think that everybody's very well aware of the great work that she's done as a heel since turning about a year and a half ago at this point. I think this promo for me really solidified it. You know what I mean? And really showed that she's one of the best heels in WWE right now. I say that without question. And this promo, you know, like everybody saw it coming, but to hear her explain in sort of the storyline way why she turned on Sasha Banks, and I saw it coming, and I never trusted you, and all the things that she ran through. The best heels have an element of truth to them. And I think that Bayley put a very good reason on it for why she turned on Sasha rather than Sasha turning on Bayley, because I think that the easiest way it could have gone, or the way that I think a lot of fans could have expected, quote unquote, it to go, would be Sasha turning on Bayley, because we know that Bayley's a great babyface. We know that Sasha's a great heel. To a lesser degree with both of them, we think that Sasha's a great babyface, and her run against Charlotte Flair, was fantastic. But has she really had, like a lot of the cliches say, that opportunity to run with a title and be that top babyface? Not really. And had Bayley had an opportunity to run as a top heel without Sasha Banks? Well, a conclusive no. So getting the opportunity on literally the first chance she got to really establish herself as a singles heel, a singles star, not that she wasn't before, I think this just really sank it into a lot of professional wrestling fans, myself included.
Yeah.
Joe, I usually go to you near the end. So Parrish, after you get your spiel in, we'll go to you next.
I was just going to say, like, you need that one person to always get you over the hump and to be your kind of person to get you there. You always have that, whether it's Rock and Austin, Bayley and Sasha are definitely the two people that are going to help elevate each other the most moving forward in this company. And this is only the middle of what they can do. But I'm going to say my favorite 2020 promo, because every time I think of 2020, I think of COVID-19. Might actually be Drew McIntyre's promo the night after he won the WWE title for the first time, because to me that was just iconic to the year, because he was the face that I know of 2020 when I think WWE, and because of that, I think it's up there, because I don't think we think of 2020 of anything else other than just being the pandemic year, of being the year that COVID-19 just put us in a submission that we couldn't get out of. And when Drew McIntyre won that, he was kind of our face when it comes to pro wrestling. We look at WWE, he was the face that kind of was the guy that helped you just have an out and enjoy something every week. And honorable mentions to Finn Balor and everything he's done in NXT. I think Finn Balor has just been an amazing addition to NXT in 2020 as well. So, and everything he does is pretty good. But Drew McIntyre's night after WrestleMania, that to me identifies everything of 2020 for me when it comes to wrestling.
Go.
Yes. For myself, for best promo of 2020, it was tough because I mean, just it's been such a down kind of year. But for me, I'm going over to New Japan Pro Wrestling for mine, and it's not really one promo in particular. It's Jay White. Any promo that he's been shooting kind of lately, he's one of the best heels in the business going right now. If you haven't had a chance to watch a whole lot of that, go back and watch, subscribe to their network and check it out. There's a lot of it on YouTube as well. This set up to Wrestle Kingdom with him and Tetsuya Naito and whatnot. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The guy does an amazing job as a heel to actually get you to actually hate him. And for me, an honorable mention that it didn't actually happen in 2020. It would have actually been in 2019, I believe. Unless I'm getting my dates mixed up. There's so much wrestling that I've been watching lately. So let's go back. I believe it would have been to a Fyter Fest of when Cody was asking Dustin to tag with him, and basically him breaking down in tears, saying, I don't need a tag team partner. He's like, I need my brother. And like I'm sitting and watching it, and I'm almost crying myself at the time. Right? They had just gone through hell. He's like, no, I want you to tag with me, but I don't need a tag team partner. I need my brother with me. That hit me right in the feels.
Completely agree, man. And so does Eric Graves, the Omen fan, in the comment section, saying Switchblade Jay White is an amazing wrestler and heel. Zach, we'll move on to you. Your favorite promo of 2020.
I'm gonna preface this by saying I haven't really watched a lot of new wrestling this year. I've been more so watching like older stuff. So I don't really have like an extensive knowledge of like the promos of the year, but the one that immediately jumps to mind is now that WWE has brought Talking Smack back, letting their talent be a little more organic and everything. I saw the clip of Kevin Owens speaking very softly but very intently to Paul Heyman about what he was going to do to his client Roman Reigns. And again, we all know that Kevin Owens is a fantastic promo, but I haven't seen him be like cool, reserved, focused, and like he was just as captivating as when he has like all the passion and energy behind him. And again, can't say well enough about Kevin Owens.
Absolutely, man. Mr. J, you know a thing about poetry. You know a thing about promos. Your favorite promo of the last year?
My favorite promo of the last year. When you talk about chemistry and you talk about truth in promos, you can only like one person in 2019 comes to mind because the in-ring work has been
2020.
Pardon me, what did I say? 2019.
You did.
It's been so long. Anyway, 2020. I apologize. Where was I? Oh yes, we basically see. I've thrown myself off here.
I got you to smile, by the way. On this, I got you to smile.
It only took the whole time, but it happened. But when I think about truth and I think about honesty and realness in a promo, I have to go with Eddie Kingston.
Oh yeah,
because and there's two that come to mind, and they're very obscure. His promo on Sour Patch Kids, on being the elite, is absolutely stunning. Stunning, because he's just handed a bag of Sour Patch Kids and told, cut a promo on this, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen. That's not even fair that he's that good. And then the next week, it's a promo on a chocolate chip cookie, and it's just as good. Argue with me all you want. That man is untouchable on the microphone.
Great example of just giving the guy something to work with, and then just let him do a promo. You don't have to heavily script these guys. Eddie Kingston is a perfect example. Just give him the subject material, and he'll shoot a promo. They know how to do this stuff.
For example, he cut a promo. He cut a promo on the guy upstairs in the middle of cutting a promo on his opponent, and I'm like, you just cut a promo on God, and now you're just the spectrum that you cover is amazing. Like the work in this is just many.
Now, Eric, before you move on to you, because we're going to close it out here in about the next 5 minutes here on Love Wrestling Sunday Brunch. I want to thank everybody here for joining us on the first edition of Love Wrestling's Sunday Brunch. We don't know if it's going to be a consistent thing yet. We're going to have a lot of content to announce. We're going to have a lot more content contributors to announce. We're going to have people that were not able to be on this call today available on future Sundays. So stay tuned to our social media here on Love Wrestling. We'll keep you up to date with the latest and greatest with what we've got going on. Parrish, after you give your answer here, we're going to close this out with an exclusive that I got from Gentleman Jervis. This one is also available on the very YouTube channel that you are on. So feel free to head over, check that out, check out all the great stuff that we've got here now, going to have in the future. To take a phrase from WWE, we're going to have then, now, and hopefully forever, or at least until the time that I expire. Parrish, once you get through your answer, we're going to get to Gentleman Jervis, and then we're going to close it out right here on Love Wrestling. So thanks once again for sticking around. We'll talk to you guys shortly. Parrish, the floor is yours, my friend.
What am I answering, by the way?
What is your favorite promo of 2020?
I've already answered that. I said Drew McIntyre after WrestleMania.
Wow. Good for us. We're even like sticking close to our match times.
Do you have an honorable mention you want to mention in since we're on you?
Yeah, well, actually, you know what? Was Finn Balor and everything he's done in NXT. It's like it's
right.
All right. What we'll do is we'll do the 10 seconds or less answer, because we would have missed a question here from Backbreaker Media lest we had closed it out. We have 20 seconds or less each. Do you consider the Becky promo post Money in the Bank a great promo or just a great moment? It's a great promo. Everything done in the professional wrestling ring with a microphone in hand is a promo in some way, shape, or form. I think it was a great promo. That doesn't exclude it from being a great moment, but I think first and foremost, you can also include it in the great promo category. Parrish, move on.
I'd say it's a great moment, but the one thing you think of afterwards is just the hug and the embracement of Asuka and Becky. Or no, I'm totally confused about this. This is when she announced she was pregnant, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Am I correct?
Yes.
So glad somebody else asked, because I'm like, what are we talking about? It's been 10 years of 2020. I don't know anymore.
I've also am like a few beers deep. My memory is weird. But no, like anything that is good and like you can remember it. Obviously, that's a good promo. Like if you can remember something, it's good. It's lasts something within yourself. But to me, it's a moment in time too that you're gonna also remember. You don't remember the promo, but you remember the time she announced that she was pregnant. I remember in the embrace that Asuka instantly said like, "Really," and then hugged her. Like that's what I remember. And the fact that she did this on live TV was absolutely amazing. So when I think of this, it was a moment because I'll never forget the moment. But at the same time, I remember the promo the most, but I remember what happened around. And I remember that same episode that Seth Rollins, who everyone knew is the father, comes down looking like a proverbial bag of you know what. And then everyone's like, well, he's going to be a father. And the news is like, this, he hasn't got, like, whatever. And they tried to, like, make a narrative out of it. But I just remember him looking like whatever. And I think that was the same episode where they started doing I'm going to put Rey Mysterio's eye on the step and going towards that. So that's what I remember about the whole thing. To me, it was a moment. The promo was good, but it wasn't a memorable promo, but it was a memorable moment.
I feel for any wrestling promoter who told you your match times, because I guess all you're doing is going to go over them. Zach?
I learned from the best.
Yeah, I mean, like all the best promos like come from a place of truth, and you don't get much more real than a pregnancy announcement. It was a great moment, great promo, as you say, Spencer. She was in the ring, mic in hand. It was the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. Mighty Joe.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a great moment as well. And a promo, like you said, you have a microphone in your hand. It's a promo, and for me to be a successful promo, on the wrestling aspect of things, if it moves business forward, moves the storyline forward, if it moves everything forward, mission accomplished. And for the fans, if it results in us 10, 15, 20 years later still talking about it, then it's a successful promo. The fan aspect of watching wrestling. So for me, that's what makes a successful promo.
That leaves Mr. J.
I'm assuming the dog told me to go, so I'll go. Keep it simple. If there's a microphone, like we've said, it's a promo. Promos can lead to moments, so I think it is a great moment off the back of a promo.
Well, I would 100% agree with you. I'm going to try and talk through my puppy. We're going to get through this, ladies and gentlemen. Either way, thank you guys once again for tuning in for the first Sunday brunch here on Love Wrestling. I know I speak for everyone else here when we say that your time is appreciated. I said it on my stream on Friday night, but we know that there are a ton of content creators, YouTubers, vloggers, podcasters, writers, whatever it may be out there, and there are a lot of great ones. So it is very, very appreciated from all of us here on Love Wrestling when you take the time to make us your decision to watch. It's appreciated as all hell. We hope you guys stick around for more great content that we've got coming up in the next little bit, whether it's Zach, whether it's Jordan, Mr. J, excuse me, you only changed your name a couple days ago.
Me?
Mighty Joe, Chris
Pardon
Perrin,
me.
or anyone else that we've got here on the network. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you guys for your support. If you guys want to hop on any of the links below, that is where you can keep track of us for the latest and greatest from what we love in professional wrestling. As mentioned, I've got an exclusive clip from my Gentleman Jervis interview that you can find on this very YouTube channel. If you like what you see, click the link, head over and keep track of what we've done, including the interview that you can find in full on youtube.com/Love Wrestling. Here's Gentleman Jervis. We're out. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Well, and you've taken some inspiration from some of the best in professional wrestling in the past. You've mentioned The Rock and Bret Hart as two guys who you've really loved as professional wrestlers. The Rock's kind of an obvious one for the way that he was really an entertainer, continues to be an entertainer, but maybe Bret Hart's a little bit more understated as far as stuff like that goes. Can you maybe walk me through why you like those two guys specifically?
Well, surely. The Rock, when I was maybe I was 12 years old, and my mother took me to meet The Rock. And my mom didn't really think much of it. We're going to go meet a wrestler. And when we got to, it was a card shop called BC Sports Collectibles. And when we got to the front of the line, my mom, she looked at me and she goes, "There he is." She goes, "Oh my gosh, he's." Oh, I was like, "Mom, he's electrifying." "You've been electrified." And she was like, "Oh my goodness." It was this thing, this charisma. You can't explain it. You can't really put a tag on it. You can't capture it. But man, you know what it is. You know what it is when you feel it. And that was a special moment for me because I thought, he's not even doing anything. He's just sitting in a chair, electrifying. Well, he was doing something, but he was making it look easy. I'll tell you that. So that moment really stuck with me. And of course, he was always a very entertaining performer.
Thanks once again for tuning in to this edition of Love Wrestling Sunday Brunch, ladies and gentlemen.